Welcome to Career Insights. The Career Insight series features local industry professionals engaged in conversation with students and recent graduates about career planning and job opportunities in Polk County, Florida.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reba Coyle, and I am the Business and Community Liaison for Polk County Public Schools Workforce Education Department. And we'd like to welcome you to our next series in Career Insights. Today, we are focusing on aerospace and aviation. I'd like to introduce our panelists and have them tell us a little bit about themselves, what their job is, where they are in their career or school.
My name is Ed Young, and I'm an attorney of counsel with jetlaw.com. We are one of the best aviation law firms in the United States, actually in the world. It's been a relatively recent change for me. I'm also a professor at SEU there at the Lakeland Linder Airport. I teach Introduction to the Industry, Aviation Law, and also Aviation Safety. I'm really excited to announce, well, I guess the announcement actually occurred on October the 1st, but that the other university that I teach for, Kansas State University, has partnered with NOAA to begin a career pipeline for the officers and pilots of NOAA. I have a multifaceted background within the industry, including not only being an attorney, but also being a certified flight instructor, a commercial pilot, and having been involved with virtually every aspect of the aviation industry there in Lake.
My name's Cole Harris. I'm a graduate of Central Florida Aerospace Academy and a member of the Lakeland Aero Club. I was a recipient of the James C. Ray Scholarship, where I was lucky enough to get my private pilot's license while I was still in high school, and became a mechanic shortly thereafter, achieved my A&P license, and currently just opened my own company called Central Florida Aircraft Services here in Lakeland.
My name is Daniel Rocha. I'm a junior at CFA, and here at CFA, is where I started my freshman year. I had my eyes on the prize since middle school, where I was in a gateway program at Sleepy Hill Middle School, where you go there for a couple years, for the 3 years there, and then you're grandfathered into CFA.
One of my first questions I have, I think, is for all of you at different times that you can answer. What attracted you to the aviation and aerospace world? Was this something that you've always been interested in, or was there something that kind of triggered the interest?
Well, so I actually believed that I couldn't be a pilot because I had some eyesight issues. And so I went along thinking that, I'm going to just be a lawyer. Then the opportunity presented itself to take flying lessons. And it turns out that most of the things that people believe about whether or not you can be a pilot or engage in that activity are not necessarily true. They're sort of urban legends. And so I started flying when I was 30, and I think I got my CFI when I was 32 or something like that. So I was sort of a late start. I actually managed an airport for a little while before I even became a pilot. And I really loved the aviation industry, the camaraderie. It's a relatively small industry. You meet a lot of great people and you get to do a lot of great things. One of the first things that ever happened to me, I landed at an airport one day. I got out and people were like, "Hey, would you like to do a biplane ride?" And I'm like, "Well, how much is?" "Oh, no, it's free." And so you just have that sort of a family environment in aviation.
Cole, what made you choose aviation as a career path?
I got excited about the opening of Central Florida Aerospace Academy and just heard how good of a school it was for engineering, aviation, and other trades. So once I got there and became involved in all the programs, that's really what sparked it off.
Dana, what about you?
Ever since I was a smaller kid, because I'm still a kid, ever since I was a smaller kid, I actually come from an aviation background. My grandfather, from my dad's side, was an A&P in Colombia, came here to the United States, continued on in his A&P career. And ever since I was a kid, I was iffy about it. But my dad, he kept talking to me, "Hey, look at the planes in the sky, look at this, look at that." And it was just like little by little, he planted the seed and it grew inside of me. And then now I just can't get away from the flying things.
That's great. That's great. So what does your typical day look like? Tell me about that. And can you also tell us how many employees you have, or is it just a single man show?
Typically, I usually get up about 5:30 and try to be at the airport by 6. Go through the office, check my emails, just get a good game plan for the day, and then just start turning wrenches and getting after it, fixing airplanes, pulling engines, whatever we have to do for the day. Sometimes we'll actually jump in an airplane and go fly and eat lunch somewhere between 12 to 1. So that's always a nice break, and then come back. And usually I'll stay at the airport till 7 or 8 o'clock at night sometimes, just because I'm a young business owner. So you're gonna have to put in the extra hours to make everything flow. But
Right.
I do have 2 employees. One just graduated from CFA last year. So he comes in about 8 and stays till about 5. And I have him opening panels for me, assisting me with oil changes, tire changes, so anything around the shop. I take him flying with me sometimes too. So he really enjoys that. I've been trying to spark his pilot interest.
When did you graduate CFA, which is actually part of Kathleen High School? So when did you graduate?
2015.
So for, 6 years, that's really great that you have already started your own company and giving back to Polk County and being a company here there in Polk County. And that's great. We're excited about that. Ed, how about you?
So it's very difficult as a lawyer to what is the typical day. For the last 3 weeks, I've actually been helping a very small client who believes they're going to change the world. And after spending a little bit of time with them, I think they may be right.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting, except for you can't talk about any of it. So it's like, I've been all over. So typically for an aviation attorney, and for our law firm in particular, we do about 3 different areas of activity. We represent clients who've had issues with the FAA. We also represent Part 135 organizations, which is, your charters and so forth, your small airlines, the 121s, 140, the 142s, those sort of things. And then we also work with folks that are having issues on airports, working with airports or trying to develop projects on airports and so forth. And then that 4th area is the cool, neat, innovative stuff that's going on. In fact, the lead partner in our firm developed some of the early safety management systems programs for aviation charter and so forth. So the typical day is atypical. In aviation, because there is such a broad number of things going on at any given time, you can do almost anything, and there are demands for almost every job opportunity, from being involved in the logistical aspects. For instance, what happens there at Lakeland with Amazon or one of the other companies, or being involved doing line work, regular accounting, administrative work, management work. There's all kinds of opportunities within the aviation industry.
What is one of your favorite industry, like projects or jobs or organizations that you've been a part of? Daniel, why don't we start with you? Can you tell us about one project that you've worked on at CFAA that really captured your interest?
Recently, us in the aviation maintenance program that we have here at CFAA, we were doing aircraft drawings as one of the sections. And, a typical lecture in any other class, you sit there, they give you the lecture, but we didn't stop there. We have to have a practical part, a hands-on part, and we have a 737, chilling back there. So all of us went back there, we measured the plane, and in a span of 2 weeks, I think it was, all of us, we got in scissor lifts, we measured it from top to bottom, and then we went ahead and drew the aircraft. So it's little things like that just keeps you going. It keeps you hungry because if I'm doing this in high school, I can imagine what it's going to be like when I actually go out and actually make money doing that.
That is great, Daniel. Cole, how about you? What was one of your favorite projects?
Probably flying up to Oshkosh. When I was a senior in high school, we rebuilt an old Super Cub, just a bunch of high school kids, and flew it 1,200 miles across the country to the biggest air show in the world in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Didn't have any troubles and made it all the way back. So that was pretty cool being a part of that.
Is that something that the school does every year, or was that something special for that year?
I believe a separate program, the Lakeland Aero Club, who's still involved in the school a lot, and a lot of the students go over there after school. It's like an after school program.
Okay.
But yes, they do it every year.
That's exciting, and that's great information for students that are watching this to learn and to know that, being part of CFAA, you can also have these other great after school opportunities and engagement opportunities to learn from professionals in the field. So that's exciting. Ed, what's one of your most proud projects or organizations you've been a part of?
Before we leave the Lakeland Aero Club piece, they actually just put together a new experimental aircraft that's basically a cub, and they'll fly it again this year to Oshkosh, but they do try and engage in that every year. And I've had the great fortune of being involved with the Aero Club too. And it's just a wonderful program. Talk about hands-on when you're still in school. And so I'm going to relate mine too. I'm currently teaching a course through CFAA and Embry-Riddle. I actually only do the first class and the last class, but we're doing a part of airport design, where I went into the classroom a couple of weeks ago and I gave the course some parameters for how to set up the approach slopes into the airport. So a basic engineering course that gives them some understanding of how you have to keep areas clear and so forth. They're putting that onto CAD, and then they're going to turn that into a project, I think, in about 3 weeks. That relates back to the most amazing project I've ever been involved with as the state director of aviation for the state of Kansas. We put together a program just like that. We put it on Google Earth, and it allowed airports to talk to their city council people and the people in the areas around the airport to express why it was so important to keep certain areas clear. Mm-hmm. And from cell towers, from tall buildings and things like that, because airplanes just don't plop down. They require an approach. Mm-hmm. That project, I'm still very proud of to this day. It was innovation of technology, that sort of place where local government and so forth meet. And we ended up winning several international awards for that. So it was one of the most innovative projects that year in the whole world. And so there was this opportunity to present something that was technologically advanced and advances the interests of the airports and the aviation industry.
Ed, what do you think are some of those most essential employability skills that you would look for in an employee? And then Cole, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What are you looking for?
Well, so the ability to accept criticism is probably one of those areas that's most important. And the great part about CFA is that there are so many of those classes that you learn skills like CAD. You're putting something into a drawing file, and it tells you if it's correct and so forth. And so that evolution of thinking, especially on the technical area, and then accepting the feedback and the help from the people around you that are set up to provide that assistance. I teach a number of college courses, obviously, and it's not just coming out with the math and science skills. It's coming out with the ability to learn and the willingness to do things that are not exactly comfortable for the students that I think I see the greatest success with. One of the aspects of flying that really teaches you that is that usually when you take your Young Eagle flight, or you're taking your private pilot license lessons or whatever, is that you are placed in a position of extreme responsibility relatively quickly. And there you are, and it is really that really has some serious life skills, and that's what I see in those college students as compared to when I taught just regular college courses. And so I think that this industry, even if you're not going to do the pilot aspect of it, teaches those skills in a way that most do not.
So that's a great insight. Cole, what do you think are those central skills that you're looking for, or that you think you have that you learned?
Doesn't matter what you know. Everyone's young. We still learn every day. But if you have a good, hardworking mentality and you're willing to accept criticism, personally, I got screamed and yelled at for years while I was learning. It's just what it takes. If you're not willing to deal with someone giving you that criticism and taking it in stride and learning from it, then you're not going to be able to learn as much as you should. And just showing up on time to work, mm-hmm. and just having a good attitude.
So Dana, what do you think are the essential skills that you need to be successful in your career, whatever it's going to be?
Strong work ethic, an ability to constantly be moving, constantly be dynamic. The aviation is not a scheduled thing. Oh, it's going to happen. It's dynamic. It's constantly changing, constantly moving. You have to be willing to adapt and have a strong work ethic on top of that.
That was very well said, Daniel. And you're going to go very far in your career with that mentality. Good for you.